Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Experience Kills. And it's been a while since me and Richard sat down and just had a chat about stuff. And we thought, you know what, now's about time, let's do that, but we're going to do it a bit differently. As you may notice, this is not really a video. You will be seeing this on YouTube, it will be available on YouTube, but it'll be a waveform playing over our logo and not our pretty faces. We're sorry about that, aren't we, Rich?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't make too many apologies for that. Probably welcome.
Probably not. Partly this is a technical reason, partly because this gives us a little bit of a chance to play around a little bit with what you're hearing right now. We might experiment with this over coming episodes and try some new things, new formats and stuff like that. But you know, basically more than anything, it's been since E3 since we came together, which is about 2 months. That's right.
It's been a long time. I mean, we've done bits in between. We've covered stuff. So you know.
Yeah. Actually, talking about covered stuff, we actually just hit a bit of a milestone. So since the relaunch as Experience Kills, we have just hit 50 videos.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Since the start of the year. So that's pretty good going.
Not bad, is it?
In, what's that, 8 months. That's all right. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, the channel in general is going well. Things are progressing nicely. Getting, if you're watching this, if you haven't already, I'm going to say it now, and I'll probably say it at the end of the episode as well. Please like and subscribe. It really does help. But yeah, I guess...
Or tell us why we're shit. That'd help, and then we can do better.
Always happy to improve. Always happy to take on criticism on board and stuff and try new things. Absolutely, yeah. Get in touch with us on Twitter, at Experience Kills, or leave us a comment on a YouTube video, however you want to do it, really. In other housekeeping news, I've had some problems with iTunes. So the RSS feed and talking to iTunes, I've tried to clear it up, and the actual feed is down right now, if that's how you get your podcast, and I apologise for that. That means you're probably not hearing this. But it's back up, it's been resubmitted, fingers crossed it's going to start working again, but I might have to think of more drastic solutions to make these work. Doesn't affect Spotify, doesn't affect things if you've got a direct subscription to the RSS, and obviously doesn't affect things if you're just watching it on YouTube, which most people do, to be honest. So that's how we are definitely mostly consumed through YouTube, and but things are going well though on the channel. Things are pretty good. Kind of quiet for games right now. We're looking down the barrel at some big releases like Control, which me and Richard are both losing our minds with excitement over, aren't we?
I'm pretty hungry for that game right now. Yeah, so I'm working through a backlog before that arrives. Long time since I've done that, actually. So I've been playing some pretty old games. That might be a challenge for us to discuss today.
I don't know. That'd be fun. I mean, I know there's some of the ones you've been playing and stuff, and we've been playing some stuff together as well, which has been really nice. In addition to Control, we got in September, we got Greedfall, which, to be honest, you're probably going to be like, what? What's that, Ben? And do you know that one, Rich?
No, I think I've seen the name. But
right, so Greedfall is by Spiders. They're the guys that made Technomancer. And if you've played Technomancer, you can see how strongly those guys are inspired by like BioWare RPGs. And with Greedfall, it's definitely continuing that trend with things like party members, but it's taking it into a kind of a different... it's not sci-fi, this one. It's sort of like Napoleonic fantasy RPG, which is... It's got a really interesting look, like Three Musketeers but monsters and magic as well. And it looks really cool, and it's going to have like a full party system, morality system, lots of deep quests and combat. And yeah, that's coming out from Spiders and Focus Home. And I think not on a lot of people's radars, but if you're in the mood for a deep RPG, maybe it'll tickle your fantasy, because let's be honest, they're not that common anymore. There used to be loads of games like that, and we just don't get them. Mostly because of the production costs, I would imagine, and how many people are required to make those things. But they're definitely not about like they used to be. So I'm looking forward to that.
There's plenty of games with fall at the end of the name. Maybe that's why I've zoned it out. Do you know what I mean? Because we've had a rash of those over a couple of years ago. The Fall.
Any others with Fall? Sorry, The Fall. The one that came
Shadowfall.
Shadowfall, yeah. Any others?
Titanfall. Daggerfall.
Titanfall 2, Daggerfall. Daggerfall, was that actually...
That's a game, isn't it?
Was that an early Elder Scrolls game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's more that I've forgotten. There's loads of Fall games.
The other thing that makes me excited about Greedfall is it's a new IP. original idea, which is really cool. Original setting, and that excites me. I am excited for other reasons for Borderlands 3, which I was really cold on for a while because of, well, Randy Pitchford mostly. But trying to look past that, trying to look past to the fact that, hundreds and if not thousands of people have worked on this game. It's not just him. I think the way this game is shaping up to look like a Borderlands game, but also to look modern and to have evolved, I think that looks quite exciting. And I've seen some of the trailers recently. I'm like, oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind a game like that right now. That looks fun. I'm down. I'm up for that. So that's September as well. What isn't September? And I'll just mention this now. It's now Destiny 2 Shadowkeep, which has slipped into October. Richard?
Well, I wouldn't be playing it anyway, so that's no loss to me. Should I go back to Destiny 2?
Yes!
I don't know. We've just got new Anthem content, so
So me and Richard literally played that this afternoon, and my response was after one mission to uninstall the game.
Literally did. But I'm still going. I'm enjoying it. Mate, you should have stuck it out for the Cataclysm stuff. It's quite good.
Okay. I mean, I liked that game well enough at launch, but what has happened there, eh? I mean, do you remember their post-launch plans? I mean, I think we both pored over that and were actually quite up for it at the time, and then none of it happened.
Yeah, I mean, their problem is that they can get away with the sort of updates that they've put out, but not at the frequency that they're doing it. So they did that month-long event where they had like crates at the end of each of the missions, so you could unlock cosmetics, and that was pretty good until the month finished, and then there was nothing to replace it. So now we've had about 2 months or more. I can't remember when that was. So
it's been ages, yeah.
At least 2 months until Cataclysm's finally arrived, and it's kind of okay, but you kind of expect that to have some proper scheduling of content and not just wait ages for something that really doesn't push the needle that far. It's okay.
If you're going to have a live game, you need to support it like a live game. And I think the problem is with Anthem is that we might have been forgiving of radio silence like this background when Destiny 1 first came out. But now we've got all these other live games that are so actively and brilliantly supported, like The Division 2 comes to mind, as well as Destiny 2. And they constantly, like on a weekly basis, will have patches and balance fixes and bug fixes. And then on a less than monthly basis, you're actually getting kind of like fresh content for the game. It might only just be missions or the odd weapon or skins or something, but a little cosmetic based event or something. But it's something to make the player feel like their developers are listening and that the community is being supported. And Anthem just got dropped like a sack of shit.
Do you think they should have just delayed the game? Because they would have known at launch that there ain't anything else coming for this game in the next...
Well, if you remember, it was right at the end of the fiscal year they actually stuck it out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
they put it out for financial reasons. But...
Yeah, 100%. And once again, EA has done the dirty on BioWare, like they did with Andromeda. And they've pushed games out that aren't finished, that aren't... I mean, Anthem's cool. That's one thing I know. I even said it to you when we were playing. Really good gunplay, great mobility. That stuff feels fine. The world is interesting. It's just what they do within it is kind of dull. Like they haven't got the framework in place to create enough variety in their mission design. So yeah, just left me cold, man. Not good. I'm
going to stick with it. See how much I get out of this Cataclysm stuff, because I've had a quick run through it and it was better than I expected, because looking at the videos leading up to its release, which came as a surprise by the way, it just sort of appeared, which was weird, but looking at those videos, it looked like it was a whole new area, which it is, but a whole new area in the vein of the existing map. So you'd have some sort of free reign over where you go, when you go there, and what you do when you get there. But it's much more like one of the regular. It's like a longer version of one of the missions that you can do in Anthem, rather than the free world stuff. So it looks open, but it's kind of linear. So you go from one puzzle area or battle arena to the next, and see how many you can do within the time until you get to like a boss at the end. So I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I thought it'd be kind of aimless, but it's pretty good.
I mean, okay, fair enough. I mean, I imagine EA will be looking very closely at what the player numbers are like with this event coming out, and they'll probably be deciding on, future support based on that. Which, knowing that EA will be a hard cut. And yeah, God knows what happens to BioWare after this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm under no illusions this is probably, drawing its final breath now. And when I say it's good for someone like me that spent every day playing it for 2 or 3 months after launch. I was unhealthily into Anthem. And I know it's not worth the time, critically, but I did enjoy it a lot.
So you were like, you can see the graphs, can't you?
Yeah.
In your head. You were that one of the 0.5% who logged in every day.
Yes.
For that post-release period, but wasn't rewarded with any support.
No, I mean,
almost nothing.
There was a time when I just had to give up because there was literally nothing left for me to achieve. That's true of any game, I guess. But you don't see that with Destiny 2. You see people logging in constantly for years.
Yeah. I don't think it is true, because if you build a live game properly, there's always something to do. So that's, I think...
Well, there's a point of diminishing returns, I think. So for something like Destiny, you get people who log in every day, but you could argue it's largely a waste of time. They're not really getting very much for their time when they've put that much into it. But with with Anthem, after 3 months, there was absolutely nothing left. So no drops that I didn't have, no quests or objectives that I hadn't completed. It's completely done. And they've not really added that much more now.
Okay. Well, no, thanks for the Anthem update. Someone has to care.
No one else is going to do one, so
nope.
You're welcome.
No one is. That is very true. Before we get out of the intro segment of the show, you told me something quite shocking a moment ago before we started recording.
Did I?
And that's that you've been watching Another Life on Netflix.
Yeah, I don't know why I started that. I thought, okay. Katie Sackhoff in a sci-fi show. Maybe it recaptures the glory of Battlestar. Who knows? Doesn't know. Spoilers.
How far did you get?
I've seen all of it.
What? I find that hard to pass. I got an episode. I did an episode. I've heard it becomes less terrible as it goes on, but it's still pretty terrible. But, does it become any more believable?
No.
Because, the fact that the ship is crewed by 20-something pretty people that don't seem to have any qualifications or knowledge in the departments that they're meant to be experts within.
Or even a desire to work.
Or that. I mean, I couldn't fathom, really, what was going on or why these people were chosen. Is there any explanation for that?
Yeah, someone does mention it. Maybe it's episode 2, but there is a comment about how they've sent all young people because they're like the most dynamic, and that's what this mission needs, and you wouldn't want to send a bunch of old people.
Oh.
So,
see, I was hoping for some kind of twist, like it was all in Katie Sackhoff's mind.
No.
Okay, it's just crap then. Why did you watch all of it?
Because so much happens, and you just think, is this going to tie together somehow, or are they just going to keep throwing more shit at the wall? And every episode there's something else, maybe 2 or 3 things that just kind of overlap and clash, and there's just no structure to it. I just found it fascinating. It's really interesting. It is
fascinating, yeah. Because I had problems with the tone, and I thought so I was watching that first episode, and I was like, it would go from fairly cerebral concepts about space travel and alien probes, and there's some family drama, and and then it would go into teen land, and then it would sort of be like this silly sort of bubblegum popcorn crap, and it's like, I can enjoy that element, and then it ends on this beat of her murdering a person in a really gruesome way, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I literally can't work out what I'm watching. I was just left completely bewildered. But like you said, when I turned to the wife and she's like hard no on this now, I was like, I'm kind of from a fan of the medium and the genre.
Yeah.
I'm sort of curious as to where it goes because
I think you'd get something out of it, because I ended the series not respecting it, but caring enough to see what happens next, and just one of the most delicious what the fuck feelings afterwards. You know?
A delicious what the fuck feeling. That would be a great poster quote for Another Life. They'd love that. They should use that. The thing I watched and I've binged, like a lot of people, I think it's Amazon Instant Video's #1 most watched show of all time is The Boys. And if you've not watched The Boys, Richard, I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
It's on my list. It's highly promoted at the moment, so
yeah,
I
it's
will
everywhere. So the concept of The Boys, it's what if power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and when you have superheroes with a lot of power, they're gonna be douchebags. So you need someone to keep them in line, and that's basically the concept of the group, The Boys.
So kind of like a Watchmen vibe.
It's a much more sort of tongue-in-cheek deconstruction of the genre compared to Watchmen. At least the original comic was. I mean, it's post what I believe The Boys was written as a comic post Watchmen. It wouldn't exist as a comic if Watchmen hadn't been written. It's one of those things that purely is a product of that kind of postmodern comic book writing. But it's very, very watchable. Carl Urban has the most incredible, over the top Cockney cum Australian accent I have ever heard.
Like deliberately so, or is he just?
I believe so. He knows he's a comic book character and he doubles down on it. And it's brilliant because you've got these very over the top superhero characters, and then you have the balance, which is Huey and his very grounded relationship with the superhero in this. I won't spoil anything, obviously, and what he goes throughout the series. And then there's a great twist ending at the end of the first season, which isn't actually in the comic. They diverge quite considerably from the storyline of the comic, which is cool because, again, The Walking Dead did that and was a huge success, even though by now it should definitely have ended. But, it doesn't have to be a direct adaptation to still bring something. And I had a great time. It was compelling, like really engrossing TV. Yeah, not a lot of people are liking that show, but like really good fun. Yeah, okay. Highly recommend it.
I'll check that out.
Yes, you please do. Anything else you'd like to mention before we have a little break?
Anything else I've watched? Can't remember much. You've got to watch Another Life because it's just expunged everything else from my memory now. Watch it.
It's erased all knowledge of everything else that's happened in the last 2 months. Oh God. I might have to sneak that one in, I think. Yeah. So we'll be right back in just a minute. And we're back, and let's talk about some news. Now, obviously, we've been away for 2 months, and we're not going to try and talk about every piece of video game news that's happened in 2 months, because that would be, first of all, incredibly boring, and secondly, we'd be here for the next 6 hours. So we're just going to pick and choose, mostly for some recent events, and a couple of bits that have stood out, I suppose. So I mentioned it earlier that Bungie and Destiny have pushed back Shadowkeep into October, because they're an independent company now. They're not beholden to Activision. They can, if it's not ready, they can just say, well, we're going to take a couple more weeks, 3 weeks to make sure it's ready for you guys. And I got to respect that.
Yeah, so the game is ready. They're just doing it to prove that they can.
Yeah, we don't have to do it if we don't want to. Make you fuckers wait. And kind of related to that, part of this new suite of features that they're doing is the ability, it's kind of like a cross-save ability and account transfer ability, because it's not cross-play, but you're going to be able to take your Guardian from Xbox to PS4 and to PC, and basically your light score, your power score as it's called now, and your equipment and stuff will transfer between all the platforms, which, fantastic, isn't it? It's really cool. I know I'm going to be doing it because I've got a bunch of friends on PS4 who've wanted me to play for a while, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to start all over again. You know, I've got a really high level guy on my Xbox and stuff. Oh, I can't be bothered. Yeah. So now I can just bring that guy over and jump in. They're really cool.
Yeah,
and that's starting later this month.
It's tell you what though, it's a bummer that it's not on Switch though.
I mean, it wouldn't run in a million years on Switch, mate.
Well, Warframe is on Switch.
Yeah, but Warframe looks like crap compared to bloody Destiny.
Well, it could make it look like crap. Who cares? It'd be
I
good
suppose if you were willing to sacrifice all the sort of beautiful skyboxes and visual fidelity, I guess you could.
That'd be the main reason to swap your save, though, wouldn't it? So if you could take it on the go somewhere and then just go.
I don't know, mate. Switch doesn't have a built-in 4G connector, does it? You have to be within Wi-Fi range all the time.
Yeah.
And you want to try and play, decent multiplayer on a public Wi-Fi?
What are you trying to do? Crush my dreams?
I'm not sure, because people talk about Switch as the perfect home for just about every game ever, and I think a lot of times they're right, but it is also a really low-powered system. And if it was like a Vita, like one of the Vita models, remember when they did Vita? No, Vita had 3G in it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, PSP definitely did. If they'd done something like that, maybe that would make sense for a game like Destiny. That's because it's always online. But I'm not sure. I've not tried Warframe on Switch, to be honest.
Neither have I, but I've heard that it runs okay.
Right.
Obviously, there'd be massive compromises in that. I know, but just having the choice to do that would be cool. I'm surprised they haven't thought of doing it.
Maybe they will. I mean, it could be in the works right now at Bungie. I mean, maybe they were being held back by Activision. It could be anything, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe they want
I'd like to see that. But yeah, in any case, you're right. So even swapping between Xbox and PS4 is a cool thing, because there have been times when I've been tempted to get the PS4 version just to play with people who are only there, which is quite a lot of people. So, not a bad idea. I'm glad they're doing it.
So one of the other cool things is, this is coming on August 21st. However, the new edition of Destiny 2 New Light, won't launch until the same time as Shadowkeep in October the 1st. And New Light is this other thing that they're doing, which is basically free-to-play Destiny.
Why are they renaming it? This is getting very confusing.
I don't think it is. I mean, why are they renaming it? Because they're repositioning the whole brand now that they're free of Activision's contractual bullshit. So that this is a relaunch. I mean, that's what they're looking at. So Destiny 2 New Light is going to be the sort of free new onboarding experience that you will be able to jump on with saves from, wherever you want to take them between any platform, and just get in there and play Destiny with your friends. And I think that's a really cool idea as well. And actually, do you know what they've done with Destiny 2 New Light? One of the things that made me so happy, they're bringing back that starting area that you had in Destiny 1 on the Cosmodrome. So that's going to be like the opening level of it. Like, you get to go back to the Cosmodrome, which holds a lot of nostalgic kind of connection for someone like me who's put collectively thousands of hours into Destiny games. So yeah, I'm happy about that. That's going to be great. But no, I'm really looking forward to getting my guy over to my PS4. And of course, what you'll be able to do is, because it's going to be account-based and it's going to be server-based, that profile, that character, he'll just be ready whenever you want him on whatever platform you want.
Yeah, so no long-winded transfer before you can use, and then, painful updating to get it synced to the most update version. It just works.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Right, I'm not even going to try and segue here. Tonally a big shift. In the last few weeks, there have been a spate of horrendous, awful mass shootings in the United States of America.
Oh, now I know why you're not going to segue, and I apologise for my laugh. I didn't know that was coming. Go on.
It's okay. This is obviously a tragedy. This is disgusting and appalling and needs to stop. And honestly, it's not the kind of thing that would normally come up on my podcast about video games, but I'm bringing it up because the heinous excuse for a human being, that is Donald Trump, and, every other Republican, to be fair, in America, has decided to, rather than talk about the problems around gun control and gun crime and the availability of firearms in the United States, and look at why they might be responsible for mass shootings, they have once again decided to trot out the perennial blame factory that is video games make kids into violent people, and yeah, I guess connected turn them into mass sort of shooter people, which is just insane on so many levels.
Doesn't stack up, does it? Because I can't think of a video game that's about killing Mexicans. I can think of a few that are about killing Nazis, and Donald Trump is still alive, so 2 + 2.
I mean, beyond that, Richard's coming out from a flippant angle there, probably because, to be fair to Richard there, it's so ridiculous that it's almost like, should this even be talked about seriously? I mean, probably not, but there have been dozens of studies in which both sides have either tried to prove or disprove the idea that violent video games can make people violent, and not a single one of these studies has been able to prove that completely, beyond the odd bit of kind of coincidental correlation. Not one has given definitive, factual, verifiable proof of this correlation.
I'm not sure
it doesn't exist.
I don't think it is worth arguing from that standpoint, because it puts the creative medium of video games, or whatever else it is, if it's movies, on the back foot, and that's not the place that they should be in. There's pretty conclusive evidence that world leaders spouting hatred about racial groups and calling them vermin and infestations, that does cause people to kill. That's pretty categorical at this point. So really don't feel like we should be defending video games when there's a really clear target that's trying to point the other way.
So the problem is, Richard, and why we're, advocates and fans of video games like ourselves do need to defend them, is that when people react to this and put video games in a position of blame, like Walmart. So Walmart has advised its managers around the United States to pull down signage that is promoting or depicting violent video games. This is a company in which you can walk into a store and buy a gun.
Not just buy a gun, you can see them on display in nice glass cabinets.
And and also just ghetto ass racks. Well, I mean, like they're just out and about. Like if you wanted to go into Tesco's in the UK and buy a fucking polo shirt, you can go into Walmart and buy a rifle.
Yeah, I mean, if you go into Asda, you can't even look at cigarettes. You can put guns on display in Walmart.
It's gross, isn't it, Rich? Yeah. I mean, there's something inherently broken inside American society, and it's got a lot to do with the NRA and the power they have over elected officials. It's just disturbing that these guys can trot out video games. Fucking like it's the biggest grossing entertainment medium on the planet. Why isn't it like Murder Town? Why isn't it The Purge every day? Do you know what I mean? It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Well, so there was a study as well which looked at nations with the highest per capita like gamer population, right? And one of the highest, right at the top, was Japan. So you then correlate that to gun violence, and it's like right near the bottom. Like
there's a Republican fellow, I can't remember who he was. Republican fellow went on TV last week to say
this quote.
There is no widespread gun violence in Japan because there are no video games there.
It's only the birthplace. It's only one of the birthplaces of video games where some of the most popular video games have been made. I mean, what on earth, man? Like none of them fact check. They just spout rhetoric, and the problem is people believe them. And the problem is companies respond to this. And then what happens next? Do we get heavy-handed legislation? Do we get penalties levied towards the industry, because it's easier to blame them. It's easier to blame video games because they don't have a super strong lobbying department that puts billions of dollars into fucking elected officials, campaigns like the NRA does.
This is what I mean about not spending too much time defending it, because it's like throwing a dead cat on the table. It's done to distract you into defending something else rather than attacking the thing that is the true target. And all the time we're talking about video games not being the cause, whether they are or whether they aren't. Clearly, it's nothing to do with that. It's just a distraction from what we should be talking about.
You're right. Of course you're right. Of course you're right. And it's a disgusting, deplorable tactic made by disgusting, deplorable people in a pretty disgusting, deplorable nation. Because of, let's be honest, when you hear about these stories, and they seem to be on the rise, I'm certainly less interested in visiting the States at the moment. I don't know about you.
I wouldn't be going there, mate. Amnesty International have just put out a warning for travellers to the US because of the propensity for gun violence, warn people not to be in crowds. No way am I going there in the next couple of years.
Can you imagine? That's like something you'd imagine, like, I don't know,
it's like if they're
Mexico
talking about,
City.
Yeah, or some
Brazil.
impoverished African state.
Yeah. So the Congo.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, that's mad. That, don't visit Iran or Syria because you might get... No, the United States. Like, that's... Jesus Christ. Mad. They need to... our last horrible mass shooting that we had in the UK, of course, was Dunblane in Ireland in the late 90s. What did we do after that? Was it Scotland? Sorry, not Ireland. Yeah, my bad. What did we do after that? Banned handguns. Just tightened up all the gun laws. Because we're not insane. Because we reacted correctly to that awful tragedy,
Andy Murray's from there,
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I don't think he was one of the survivors, but he was...
No.
He was of that age in that town.
Oh, Jesus. So he was of that, literally of that peer group?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I had no idea about that at all. But yeah, so that's how we reacted. America, take note, you nutters. Sort it out. We don't want to keep hearing about these awful stories. It's terrible and tragic. Right. Talking about other things that are pretty freaking tragic, but on a very different level when you compare it to horrible gun violence. The Entertainment Software Association, most commonly known as the ESA, though saying that, I was explaining this story to Richard earlier, and he was like, who? Which is kind of fair. These guys are... They're the sort of the governing body. They're the guys that when they last had problems with video game stuff in the United States, stepped up and kind of created the voluntary age rating system for games. They're the guys that came on to sort of regulate and be a part of the regulation of video games so that the government didn't have to step in. I'm going back about 20, 25 years. So these guys also run E3, which of course was why we were talking 2 months ago. The big thing that happens every year where all the games get shown off. But it's already... the question has come up quite a bit in the last couple of years. How relevant is E3? Do people still need to visit E3? Do games publishers and developers still need to go there to show off their wares in the age of Twitch and YouTube and such things, and ways of getting their own word out? Already things were kind of in question over the whole validity of the expo.
Don't forget Mixer.
Sorry, what was that?
Don't forget Mixer.
So, well, we did have a news story about Mixer, which I kind of dropped because it was like, it's Mixer. So it's like Ninja's left Twitch to go for Mixer because Microsoft paid him a bunch of money. And then I kind of thought to myself, who the fuck is Ninja? And I know he streams Fortnite, but I don't like Fortnite. I've never watched anything he's done. Do I care that he's on Mixer? No, I don't. No, not really. But yes, to be fair, Xbox could stream their...
Just on a tangent.
Yeah.
It was those three things that made me watch. I don't know who Ninja is. I don't like that game. And I don't really like Mixer. But all three together, I was intrigued. So I did watch for an hour.
Fair enough. So you watched actually some of the World Cup?
No, I just watched some of Ninja streaming.
Oh, right. Okay. But anyway, yeah, Fortnite, you can't deny how big it is. You can't deny it's just not our cup of tea. So it's like, it's huge. I respect that. But yeah, you've really thrown me off my news story.
Sorry,
I was explaining about the ESA and the E3, and it was going really well. And yeah, you killed that. But no, anyway. But Mixer is indeed a valid platform for streaming, and that is what Microsoft uses to predominantly show their conference from E3. So there is a connection, obviously. But the story is that the ESA accidentally posted an unencrypted spreadsheet in plain text format of every single member of the journalist and enthusiast press credentials that went to E3 or didn't even go. They could have just registered to go to E3 this year. So we're talking thousands of names and email addresses, of home addresses, especially for those that are like streamers and stuff that don't have a company to work from, of phone numbers, of sometimes scans of things like driver's license to prove who they are. All of these people's personal information was put out there for, well, you know, the less scrupulous members of the internet to download, to share, and then to make these people's lives a living fucking nightmare.
So it wasn't a hack, they just put it out there, right?
No, it wasn't a hack. They put it out there with a URL that you could just get to. Now, the reason that they probably did this was that they collect this information to share with things like publishers and PR companies. And to be honest, people just buy it, don't they? So when you sign up to go to E3, you're signing away that level of privacy. But that's still a controlled dispersal of the information. This, however, is now out there for the scumbags of the internet, the gamergators, to make, especially a lot of the female members of the journalist, you know, kind of group and stuff, make their lives really, really difficult. And this isn't a hypothetical. This has happened already. So already people have had to change phone numbers, they've had to alter email addresses. Some are even considering having to move house. Jesus. I'm not making this shit up.
Oh my
because
God.
People are showing up at their doorsteps. People are, you know, what? Can you imagine the fear if you received unsolicited post, like parcels?
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe you're not liked much on Twitter because you're a woman who's outspoken about the Gamergate scumbags. And that is now what, you know, the guys that have organised E3 have just done to all of these people's lives. You can't really calculate in financial terms, the damage that this could have caused. You know, it's awful. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous. And I think they put out like a half-hearted, you know, oh yeah, whoops, won't do that again, sorry.
Well, oops. They've got to be open to litigation for that. I mean, if that was in Europe, they'd be screwed.
Well, saying that's something that hasn't come up yet. We're still waiting to see things develop because, of course, there are members of the press who would have travelled from Europe to go to E3.
Holy shit.
So, yeah, so that could indeed contravene GDPR regulations and rules.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, they could be in some serious trouble for this. But beyond the possible, like you said, litigation and legal ramifications, now all these journalists are like, well, I ain't fucking going to E3 next year.
No.
I'm not going to give him my information again. I'm not crazy. Why would I do it again? So already we're sort of in this place where people are questioning the validity of E3 as it is.
Yeah.
What's E3 without the coverage, without the journalists, without, you know, the press? What does that even exist?
That's pretty bad. That's like end of days bad for E3.
Yeah.
I can easily see that not happening ever again now.
Super dumb. Do you know what else turned out? Yeah, this is great. This is fun. So people investigating this. Turns out they've actually done it before. Twice.
Wow.
It just didn't get covered.
Really?
It was kept quiet. But yeah, it turns out when people have started digging and finding this spreadsheet and, you know, connecting it, you know, through the dark recesses of the horrible parts of the internet, they actually found records of people's details from 2 other shows. So this isn't even the first time they've done it. They are just incompetent on levels that you can't even imagine. It's like, guys, how to literally shoot yourselves in the head. Like, that is the dumbest thing ever. I just feel so, like, people think, oh well, so what? It's, you know, I wouldn't care if you had my email address. But yeah, because you, mate, you don't have 400,000 followers on Twitter, half of which want your guts strung out across you know, lampposts. You know, so it doesn't matter to you. So it doesn't matter to them, does it? But like, yeah, just imagine if you're like, I can think of some of these people, like, in particular, and the only thing they've often done wrong is be a woman or be a homosexual. That's literally the only thing, you know. So, but that's enough for some people, isn't it? For some of the scumbags out there.
Or they've used Epic Game Store, something. Unbelievable.
Fucking, that's not even a news story I post up here, but yeah, you've made me think of that. Right, guys, if you're one of those people that was hating on Ooblets just because they went with Epic because they wanted to get their game finished, they wanted a bit more money and resources, their tiny little indie studio of 2 people with a fun little game which is kind of like Pokemon and Animal Crossing combined, looked great, looks like a really lovely time. If you're one of the people that decided to basically try and destroy these people's lives because they had the audacity to decide to go on a video game store platform which guess what? You can freaking use. You're weirdos. What is wrong with you? Like, seriously, what is wrong with you? Why are you so quick to hate? Get some help. Like, really? I take it that's what you were referring to.
Yeah, that is what I'm referring to. I think you've said it all.
It's just grim, innit? Like, sometimes you're like, man, being into video games, like, some of the people that are into video games, and, well, they say they are, but it's like, really, are you just using it as a way to just be disgusting and hate people? Like, it's grim.
It's not really compatible with actual video games, is it? If you think back to, like, the blue skies of Sega, and then you got people threatening rape, it doesn't quite fit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It's really, I mean, I've actually looked into that Ooblets thing quite a lot, and it's like people signing up to their Discord. They got this massive influx of people. You know, all these people talking about being potential customers of their game that they've now lost, and the developers like, well, I don't give a shit, mate. You didn't pre-order it. You didn't back the Kickstarter. You're not a customer until you buy it. So why don't you fuck off? Like, and it's just people's entitled awfulness. Gross. And look, I use the Epic Game Store a bit. It's kind of crap. Don't get me wrong. It's this weird, underdeveloped thing that only exists because Epic has more money than sense now. And yeah, it's gross that there are literally territories in the world that want to buy games and can't buy games because there's no local currency support for them to use the Epic Game Store. So they literally can't buy those exclusives because the Epic Game Store doesn't support their currency.
Oh, is that right?
That is shit. That is a valid problem. Yeah. But does that forgive that level of hate? That level of vitriol? I don't think it does. And our final news story for today, and this is going back a while, but that you can blame that on the gap we've had for 2 months being off. I just got you to watch it, Richard. The Witcher trailer from San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes, the ultimate backlog game. Now on Netflix for me to be tempted back to it.
I can't believe you haven't played The Witcher.
It's mental, isn't it? I got it at launch day.
What the fuck? You had The Witcher free from launch day and you've never played any of it?
I played like an hour. But
oh
no.
My god, you didn't get out of the tutorial area.
No.
Oh, dude, what the hell, man? It's only like the greatest game of 2-3 years ago.
I know, but stuff turned up. I thought, well, this is going to be a long game. I'll hold off until I can really do it justice. And has there been an opportunity for that? No, of course not.
Dude, you played Anthem for like 3 months. That would have been a really good time to play Witcher for 3 months.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I got you there, buddy. Yeah, tied you in knots there, man. You're not getting out of that one. I mean, nobody in their right mind would go, you know what? Yeah, Anthem, definitely better than The Witcher. Yeah. That doesn't exist. Not a single gamer on the planet would say that. Not one single gamer. So, yeah.
You're daring me to say it, aren't you?
Yeah, but you're wrong, and you wouldn't know because you haven't fucking played it. So, but anyway, this trailer, it's an adaptation of the books rather than the game, so there are some differences. But I thought it looked really good. I mean, in a post-Game of Thrones world where I'm already kind of missing the existence of that show, it's like, yeah, give me some more hardcore, violent, adult fantasy, dark shit. This looks great.
Yeah, good shout, actually. Yeah, it should do well after Game of Thrones is finished. Yeah, I didn't really think of that. But yeah, it looks well-produced, high-quality, big-budget stuff from Netflix, as you'd imagine. Doesn't look like Henry Cavill, though, in the lead role. Doesn't look like him at all.
No, he looks like Jerry, mate. It's got to be Jerry. Yeah. That's what we want.
Well, I thought that they would, make it look more like Henry Cavill than they would the character of Geralt. Just because of, recognition. If they're going to pay for him.
He's not Tom Cruise. He's not Brad Pitt. He's not, Will Smith.
No, but he is Superman.
Well, not anymore.
No, not anymore.
He's not anymore, is he?
No.
So, I mean, it's like, well, so was Brandon Routh. I mean, it's Tom Welling. A long list of people who've been Superman and nobody cares.
Fair dues.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that, and hopefully it will get me into the game.
God, dude, just fucking play it. It's also a really, really nice X enhanced game as well. Really, really good quality update on the 4K and stuff like that, and HDR. It looks amazing, plays great.
I have seen it. I did load it up to see the update. I thought, oh, this is well worth playing now. And I didn't.
Yeah, man, it's gorgeous. Do you have the DLC as well?
No.
Okay, well, that's fine. Obviously, you've got plenty of game anyway, but the DLC is very, very good as well.
Yeah. I've heard it's fantastic, but I'm not going to buy that when I'm like an hour into the main game.
I literally have a painting of Geralt in my house.
Yeah.
FYI, I have a painting. I mean, he's looking at me right now. His steely eyes. Yeah. But yes, okay. That brings us to the end of news, and we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to come back and discuss all the games we've been playing in the last couple of months. That'll be fun, won't it, Rich? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've not played the Anthem, really, so we can talk about something else.
I've not played Anthem for a while, so yeah, other stuff.
Yay. And we're back, and now we're going to get into some games. We've covered the crap we watched on Netflix. We've talked about the crap shit happening in the world. And now let's talk about the good games that we've been playing that helps us really get out of reality for a while and not worry about any of that stuff. And that's what games are good at. So, who wants to go first? You wanna tackle this, Richard?
I'm going to kick off with something I just got from the PlayStation sale. Some good sales on at the minute. And I got...
Yeah, there's been a bunch over the summer, haven't there?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I got Tetris Effect, finally.
Oh, good. About bloody time. Oh my god, you haven't played that. You played it in VR?
Yeah.
Oh my god, in VR it's so good.
Mate, I know. I played it when it came out. There was a limited demo, wasn't there? Like a weekend demo. So yeah. I've tried it before. But 35 quid? Nope. I waited till it was in sale. And very glad that I've got it. So Sarah's had a go. She enjoyed it too. So for anyone that doesn't know, Tetris Effect is literally Tetris, but you can play it in VR. It's got awesome soundtrack. Fellow who did Rez, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it Mizuguchi? Or is it something else? Something like that. And so nice pulsing rhythms behind the familiar gameplay. The visuals change level upon level, so it's kind of like a light show, an auditory experience. So want to be experienced in VR if you can, with a decent set of headphones on, and you'll be enveloped as you are with Rez, but slightly less sick making because it's just Tetris, isn't it? So really
I think you've not used the word, Richard. Use the word.
What word?
Synesthesia.
Oh, that's the correct word, isn't it?
Synesthesia, baby. Yeah. And I mean, I think this works better than with Rez because the gameplay is so familiar and you get into such a rhythm with it that you get lost in the screen. It's the only way of describing it. You just it takes you out of your body and you're like just in that sound and visual scape. And it's one of the few things that might convince me not to get rid of my PSVR. So,
are you tempted to get rid of it? Are you?
I have fallen out of love with VR hard. I tried again in the last few months. It's just a bit of a gimmick. It's a bit crap. I don't love it. I really don't. And
it is a gimmick.
Like Tetris Effect. Sorry?
It is a gimmick for sure. But, for an occasional thrill.
Well, that's the thing, right? I've held on to it for a while now, feeling like this, thinking, all right, any day now, that game's going to come out, which is going to be like, yes, this is it. This is what proves VR can do. This is the one. And we've just got more and more and more shooting galleries and, kind of first-person horror things. And it's like, this isn't doing anything. Why? Where are these games? Where are these games that prove that VR is a sort of medium that works by itself. And I'm just not feeling it. Maybe it's because I've got a PSVR and I've not got like a high-end Oculus or a Vive or something.
I think it is that. So, you're probably expecting too much if you want the VR space to be expanded upon more than it already is in PSVR. It's not going to get much better because the technology is so limited. But once we start to see the new Oculus is coming out soon, isn't it? If it's not out already, the standalone one.
That's out, yeah.
And I've heard that is way better than what we're used to.
See, no, I haven't, because what I've read about you're talking about the Go, the one that doesn't need a PC, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So that's basically the same visual fidelity as a PSVR.
No, but the freedom that it gives you, not having any wires and just being able to physically move around a space rather than...
I mean, that's nice, but I'm not sure it's going to make a huge amount of difference to me. I mean, the thing that actually the PSVR has done is because it's Sony, they've put more resources into focused game development for the platform.
Yeah.
And actually, from what I've read, many of those PlayStation exclusive VR games, like Tetris, which was, but I think it's now on PC, and what's the Astrobot one, are some of the best games you can play in VR.
Yeah.
And that kind of leaves me a little bit worried.
Well, worried in what sense? Because those are great games and you can play them. So
yeah, but they're not really. I mean, they're good, but they're not. I mean, Tetris stands out to me as an experience that, of course, you can play that without VR and on a high end, 4K set like we've got and stuff. It still looks and plays great, but it isn't as immersive, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm still not sure, because that's not an experience that only works in VR. You see what I'm saying? It's like it does still work outside of VR. Because at its core, it's quite simplistic. Well, they're actually, Tetris is fucking, like you said, Tetris. So where is that thing that I can only get in VR? That really, it's a playroom where I can fuck around and pick things up and throw them about a bit, and I can shoot some dudes. And it's like, there's a millions of games like that, and they're all a bit shit.
Maybe your expectations are too high, because you're dismissing the immersion element as something that something you take for granted, and you're looking for something more that only VR can do. VR is the immersion. That's the whole point.
Oh no, okay, yeah, and I can see that direction that you're coming from, and that's fair. Maybe it's just not for me yet. Maybe, in 10 years if it continues to grow and stuff. But I don't think it will, because what it's interesting is that adoption of PSVR and the Go is far, far higher than adoption, for obvious reasons, of the high-end gear. So what that means is developers are going to develop for the low-end gear. They're not going to push the boundaries because people aren't adopting it.
No, but
so therefore,
what they need to do is make it as accessible as possible, and that's what the Go is doing by making it a single device. You don't need to plug it into anything else. It sounds as if that the freedom that affords and how well integrated that is into the space around you. So it's got some clever little tricks to it. So you can program in like the space that you're in, and that space will visually appear within your HUD when you get too close. So you don't have to worry about lashing out or walking into walls, because it's going to tell you. And stuff like the controllers, you'll see them accurately mapped in 3D space in your visor without having to lift your helmet and look for where it is, which is often a problem in PSVR. So all those small changes that you think shouldn't make a big difference, they're all big steps towards knocking down those barriers and making it a wide appeal device, rather than something that the likes of you and I will put up with the problems for just to be on the cutting edge of technology. A lot of people don't care about that. They just want a system that works.
No, and I can totally see how, what you just described, those two features alone, because you're just going to feel more comfortable in VR that way, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're not going to feel like, if I hit this, I'm going to knock that over, that sort of thing. And all of that pulls you out of the experience.
Yep.
So if you can feel more comfortable in the experience, and therefore you are more immersed, therefore you enjoy it more.
And if you think about all the experiences that you've got in PSVR, it's not that PlayStation can't track that stuff. It sort of can. So you can move around a bit, can't you? But it's not practical to do so because you're tethered to the machine itself, and because it's really hard to work out how close you are to anything. You kind of want to sit down just so you don't smash your living room up. So if you can get over that hump, that might open up some more gameplay possibilities that you're looking for.
Well, it's one of those weird things. It's where, again, you've seen how the developer has acknowledged people's reticence to stand and move around in PSVR because a shit ton more games will come out where you just sit.
Yeah.
And therefore it's kind of like you're restricting what you can do with this platform because of people's handicaps within it because of the hardware.
Yeah.
So I think that's really curious, and it's interesting how it's informing the development, but it's also kind of sad because it's like you're just limiting the experiences so much. You're just restraining players in so many ways.
Yeah, but we're getting there. It's like the old days of controllers having 2 buttons and a D-pad, you know?
Sure, yeah, of course.
We are getting there.
Yeah, but the question is, will support and will development continue long enough for us to get to that place where we are in Ready Player One?
I think it's inevitable. If you think how long VR has been around in different guises, it's not something that's gone away. It's not a flash in the pan like 3D TV. It's something that people have always aspired to be part of. People want it to happen and want it to work. In reality, in practice, it isn't as good as the dream yet, but people want it. And it's getting there.
Maybe I need to wait until it's as good as the dream. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I don't want to be a beta tester and sort of endure this low-level crap, you know.
Yeah, but you do, though, don't you?
Because mine's been boxed up for a while now, so it's kind of like, maybe it's time to cut those tires and come back in 10 years.
Well, or just have a look at some other experiences. There are some good stuff out there. And I wonder what...
I'm going to investigate the
Go,
definitely. Yeah.
I wonder what you've missed out on PSVR, because there's a bunch of good stuff. There's a new Wolfenstein game just come out on it. I don't know what that's
meant to be terrible.
Is it?
Yes.
No, never mind.
Cyberpilot. Meant to be garbage. That's what I've heard anyway. Okay. So that was that kind of went off. Played Tetris into VR chat. You know, VR is always an interesting conversation. So yeah. Shall I throw a game out there?
Go on.
Bitch, should I throw a game out there? I'm going to talk about a couple of games I've been playing on my Switch, which I've been enjoying a lot recently. I've been playing Civilization 6, which is an incredibly good port, I have to say, onto the Switch. If you ever had a desire for that, you know, the classic 4X ginormous strategy game, it is better on the Switch than it has any right to be. It's a really, really accomplished port, and it's kind of like, I believe it's based on the port that was made for iOS, but with some Switch sort of based improvements and some tweaks, and obviously optimized for the platform.
Yeah.
And it does everything very, very well. One of the things I was really happy to see is that it has full touchscreen support on the Switch, as well as a really good controller layout, which I wasn't expecting at all. And both work perfectly, especially if you're doing it in handheld and you're kind of using a mixture of both.
Yeah.
It feels really natural and very, very accessible. And like I said, I honestly didn't think it was going to work as well as it does.
So there's no trade-off.
Like
if you're playing in docked mode, it doesn't feel like a trade-off particularly then if the controls are good enough without touchscreen.
Nope, not at all. No, I'm not going to get into the minutiae of how the controls work, but it works really, really well. I picked it up in one of the sales you talked about over the summer. Yeah. So I got that at a reduced price, and it's very, very, very good and well worth checking out. Right.
I know
this is going to be tricky.
Go on.
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to. Well, I was hoping you were going to mention Fire Emblem because I want you.
I was just about to. I was going to say how it might be tricky to talk about because you don't really have much experience or connection to the Fire Emblem franchise, but I have been loving it. My God, Fire Emblem, Three Houses, I believe that's the subtitle, isn't it?
Yes.
Is incredible. And it deserves all the praise that is being heaped upon it. Absolutely 100%. Where to begin? Right. How do you explain Fire Emblem to someone who has no idea about Fire Emblem?
I've got a rough idea. I think I've played something of Fire Emblem. Maybe it was the mobile game or something. Don't know.
Okay.
But yeah,
so Fire Emblem has 3 pillars.
Go on.
Right? 3 pillars to Fire Emblem. First pillar is the gameplay you probably recognise, which is turn-based strategy game.
Yeah.
Right? Like a Final Fantasy Tactics or a Tactics Ogre, if you're going back those days. Kind of like that. Mm-hmm. The second pillar is basically a visual novel. So, multiple choice, lots of dialogue, all fully voiced, That's where you get all your character development. That's where you get all your plot from, for the most part, except for the odd cutscene, which usually frames the battles. Third pillar is management. All about management. And it's kind of like Persona in that regard. So you have a set amount of things you can do in a day, and you have to choose how best to min-max or optimize based on what you want to do for your characters. So if you want to buff certain characters' relationships, if you want to improve your particular character's say ability with a sword, that sort of thing. And the management game in this, because it's based around this idea of a school, also goes towards like planning lessons and teaching your kids to be better at the skills you want them to focus in for the battles. So that's your 3 pillars, and they all connect in a pretty obvious way. So you're managing to optimize the battles, and then the battles lead into the story, and the story then leads back into the optimization, and then through back to the battles. So it all connects in a very fluid, sensible way with a brilliant art style, incredible characters, and fantastic story. And the combat is brilliant as well. I absolutely love this game. I've done about 20 hours now. From what I've heard, I'm barely through the beginning. But it's huge.
That's fairly light for a Fire Emblem game, as I understand. But,
yeah, because there's 3 different houses to pick from.
Yeah.
The early game is fairly similar. Obviously, all the characters are different, but the main plot is similar, and the battles can be similar. But I've heard after a moment that happens at the end of the first act, everything diverges, and basically it's all entirely different. So it's a flipping big game. There's a lot in this game.
Are they all new characters? Is it like Final Fantasy,
yes,
where it just refreshes each?
It doesn't always. You played Super Smash Brothers, haven't you? So you've probably, or at least know of it. So a lot of the more famous Fire Emblem characters.
I've probably got a few amiibos.
There.
So I think I've got Robin
and Marth.
Marth's
one of them.
I don't think I've got Marth. I've got a few Fire Emblem amiibos, just because.
Fair enough. They're usually quite cool characters. They usually look cool. That's for sure. Do you have any questions? Because that's the basic overall kind of thing. I
suppose my question would be, how satisfying is it to play if you were going to play it on my sort of schedule, which would be probably playing it on the go most of the time.
Yeah, I pretty much always play on the go. Yeah,
maybe for like half an hour, like a bus ride or something. Can you get much done?
You'll be fine. Now, the reason it'll be fine is because of the way it's broken up. So, because it's broken up distinctly between those pillars, that you could tackle one bit before you do the next bit, as it were. So, you don't, I guess battles can go on quite a while, but you can always just, suspend the Switch, can't you?
Yeah.
And come back to it. That's not a problem. That works so well on the Switch. It's perfect for that. I did have like a 2-hour-long battle. That was because I will not. The big thing about Fire Emblem is permadeath, right? So if you can play it in a mode where characters just get knocked out in the battles, but if you do that, you're a pussy. Don't do that. The whole point is permadeath. So if they get killed in the battle, that's it. They're gone. They're gone. And by then you've made connections with them. You care about them. Other characters care about them. You're not going to want that, right? So you have to play every battle and save, and everyone has to survive. So these battles mean you need to put a lot of thought into what you're doing. They're very strategic, and you need to really think about strengths and weaknesses and how to deploy characters and really maximize your odds of survival. The great thing is in this new one, there's this thing called Divine Pulse, which is new to Fire Emblem, which is an ability you have to turn back time. You get to use this 3 times in any battle, and you can sort of rewind an entire... I think it's an entire turn of moves.
Yeah, I'd heard about this. I was going to mention it because if that means that you can sort of undo the permadeath, is it really worth pursuing with the permadeath option? That seems like it's a bit redundant then, really, doesn't it?
I think you would still play it really differently. If you play every battle knowing that whoever gets knocked out will just come back, you could basically sacrifice 8 of your 10 soldiers, because usually you can't let your character die or let the leader of your house die, but you could sacrifice everybody else knowing they'd come back.
Well, what's the cost? Is there no cost to it?
If you have it set up like that, yeah. It's just kind of like you might as well not play. Almost, it seems to go against, to me, the whole kind of core tenet of a Fire Emblem game. It's about building connections and caring about your characters, and not wanting them to die in vain in a battle. Like that's the core of the experience. But the Divine Pulse has like shaved the edge off of that. You can obviously choose not to use it if you want.
I think
you don't have to use it.
I think if it was me, I would probably not use permadeath, because I'm one of those people that just has to get it right. And knowing me, if someone died or looked like they're on the verge of dying, I'd be like, fuck this, I'm gonna load my last save or whatever.
You can save scum, yeah, you can totally save scum. But that's what Divine Pulse is for. It's like you'll make a mistake and you'll be just like, fuck, I didn't think of that. Turn it back, and then you'll do it again. And generally, I've not found myself using all three of them, for example, in any one battle. It's usually like, you make a quick error, because you get to know your squad, your makeup of your team very, very well. So you have a really good understanding of where their strengths and weaknesses are. It's just when something maybe catches you unawares, and the battle screen is very good at telling you at all times, where attacks are going to come from. There's an overlay which shows you all the potential movement spaces the enemy can take, so you can know if you're going to be positioning one of your units vulnerably. It also shows you which, at least this is on normal, I don't know if it's more obfuscated on hardcore modes and whatever, but on normal, it shows you when you are within range of an enemy, which enemies are going to attack which of your units. So you can actually sort of do things to lure people in. Your guy can tank and take that, and then your other guys can come around and flank them and like take advantage of them. Then you have lots of different kind of battle modes where you can do these things like gambits, they're called, and you can team up with multiple players, and then they can boost the attacks. And there's loads of layers to this. There's so much going on. I can't explain it all, but I would strongly advise against playing it without permadeath. I really would, but that's obviously a personal decision. But it's like kind of at the core of the Fire Emblem experience is permadeath. Yeah. So it's always been about that.
Yeah, it's kind of making me hesitate about whether it's the game for me or not, because it does feel like that is an essential part of the Fire Emblem heritage, and to not use that, it would make me think, well, am I playing this right? But then playing with that would probably make me enjoy it less. So
yeah, because it ratchets up the tension, obviously, and it means that your decisions have consequence. But that's what you want from that kind of game. It's like XCOM, it's any of those games, or Mutant Year Zero. You build connections with the characters, and you care if they die. I mean, I think permadeath, when used in a tactics game, is very, very important. Otherwise, it's just like an RTS, isn't it, where you have just infinite units you can just spawn and send in. Yeah. I guess I just have a problem with those consequences being my fault rather than it be part of a narrative. If you go through a narrative experience and someone important dies, I like that. Not that I want to see people die, but do you know what I mean? It feels like it has artistic merit, and it's something that I like to get carried away with. I want to get invested in that moment of caring about a character, and although I want them to stick around, I can see the value in them leaving as a sort of narrative device. But when it's just gameplay based, and but I mean, it will be reflected in the narrative,
I guess. But do you know what I mean? It's primarily a gameplay design choice, isn't it? That through your skill or lack of skill, you have caused a character to die who wouldn't otherwise have died. It's your fault directly. It's not just something that is being told.
I mean, maybe this is saying, because you don't know Fire Emblem, I guess. So at the core of Fire Emblem is the relationships between your characters. So it's all about building up these social links. I think that's not what they call them. That's what they call them in Persona, but it's very similar. The idea that you build these links and they get stronger and stronger, which means that when those characters work together on the battlefield, they are more and more effective.
Yes.
As well as story relation stuff where maybe they'll get a bit romantic. Maybe they'll become best buds. Maybe, who knows? And there's lots of things that can happen. So when one of them dies and leaves that hole in this web of relationships, it's first of all incredibly realistic. Secondly, that's consequences for actions, which isn't that common in video games, and I think is actually delivered really well in Fire Emblem. I can absolutely understand that you're being very honest and saying you might not enjoy that, and that's totally fair. But that's kind of at the core of the experience.
Yeah,
but obviously,
obviously,
the developers have acknowledged exactly what you're saying because they've created a mode
it's great
where that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's great that you've got that choice. But yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just feels antithetical to what I normally get out of a video game, which is to identify how it works, master the systems, get good at it, and ultimately complete it. It's all about building towards an achievement, isn't it? And that is such a massive setback on the road to any achievements you might get out of the game, to have a major character die.
So let me put it this way. I'm 20 hours in. I've not lost anyone. Okay? Just by using Divine Pulse a couple of times, thinking about my decisions in the battles, which I have no reason to believe you wouldn't be just as good at, you know.
So what's it adding for you then? Is it just that theoretical risk?
It means you take more time to plan what you're doing. It's like a game of chess, right? If you're playing competitive chess, you're not just going to be like throwing your fucking pieces around, letting them all get taken willy-nilly, because you need them, right? So it's exactly like that. It just means you take the time to think about your decisions.
Okay.
So it's not like you're ever going to get into a situation where the game is just super unfair and it's just like, right, you fucked up, that guy's dead, whatever you do. Like it's not like that. It's a case of, if you're playing it right, if you're playing it properly and thinking about it, you will never lose anyone. And if you make the odd mistake, you've got Divine Pulse to fix it.
Oh, cool. Okay, right. That maybe softens my feelings on it. Okay. No, I'd like to give that a try.
It's like you can play XCOM without losing anyone, you know? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that was a good chat about Fire Emblem. I do think everybody, even though I understand your reservations, I do recommend checking it out. It really is an incredibly well-made game on the Nintendo Switch. Another first-party fucking triumph, you know, which is what they excel at, which is why everyone owns a Nintendo Switch, because even if you hardly play it, like me, it's for those exclusives, because they're often incredible.
Looks really nice as well. I wasn't expecting it to look that good for the sort of game that it is, but no, very, very well developed.
What blows me away is it's got like a shit ton of characters, like loads of characters, and they are all their dialogue fully voiced, fully acted, and it's really well done at a really high standard. And you can have it in English or Japanese as well. So, and maybe other languages. I don't know. I didn't look at that. But yeah, it's an incredible achievement.
Cool.
Right. Do you want to bring up a game?
Well, Wolfenstein, one of the many. I've been having a Wolfenstein couple of weeks. So going back to the first Wolfenstein, the reboot, absolutely loved that. And then following it, Old Blood came out. Then Wolfenstein 2, New Colossus. And now we've got the new one, the co-op experience, Wolfenstein Youngblood. The original reboot is the only one that I'd finished before last week.
Shocking.
I know, terrible, isn't it? But I've got all of them. So I've gone back and I've completely finished Wolfenstein 2. I'm now halfway through Old Blood, and I am really feeling the Nazi killing vibe. And I'm wondering why I didn't start this earlier. It's not like the past 3 years haven't called for lots of killing of Nazis. I don't know what I was waiting for, frankly. But yeah, I've really enjoyed Wolfenstein 2. You can kind of see the steps forward that it made, going back to the Old Blood. Things that you take for granted, like being able to save anywhere in a mission. The flexibility that you've got in Wolfenstein 2 to revisit old areas rather than literally replay missions and go over the old narrative and all that. Wolfenstein 2 is put together really smartly and looks really good as well. So, but yeah, I'm still kind of enjoying Old Blood just for the sake of being a completionist. I do want to get through that, and then you and I are going to go through Youngblood, aren't we?
We are indeed. I didn't like 2 as much as the first one.
No, well, something must have turned me off of it, because another one that I got at launch and then barely played. and only finished it this week. Yeah, I don't know what that was. I don't know what it was that put me off of it, but something did. But I think once you get a third of the way in, I'm not going to spoil it, but there are some crazy cutscenes that just had me running to the wife to tell her what had just happened. Don't do that very often with video games because she doesn't care. But I had to tell somebody about what I'd seen, and you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Absolutely.
I can think of a couple. I mean, I'm not going to avoid spoiling it, to be honest, because it's quite old now. But I want to talk to you about my favourite moment, which is the moment, and I think we did a Game of the Year that year, and I had like best character for Anya, and nobody agreed with me because I was the only one at the time to have finished Wolfenstein 2.
Yeah.
But that fucking scene at the end with her on top of you, pregnant, naked, covered in blood, is one of the coolest and most memorable fucking moments from a video game I have ever experienced, because it's a metaphor of birth. It's a culmination of their characters. It's just perfect.
It was
and
great.
Like what
it was
and
great.
what the Machine Head games do with story in that franchise is just impeccable. Like, it's so much better than it has any fucking right to be.
No, it somehow it just goes for the most lowest common denominator, disgusting, vulgar violence, but somehow comes out as reasonably highbrow with it. I don't know how they manage it.
Yeah, no, you're right, and no, I don't either. It's truly impressive. Like that scene we're talking about, which is this. She saves you, doesn't she?
Yeah.
So it's right at the end, and you're going to get killed, and she comes in and saves you, and it's just this incredible experience where you realise, oh man, yeah, she's perfect.
Yeah.
Of course she's with BJ. Of course they're together. She is literally him as a woman. She's stronger than him in many ways as well, because she's doing all of this while carrying twins.
This is it. It's so empowering.
Like,
when you say she's naked, it doesn't feel like a sexual thing, does it? It's just this.
No, it's not. No, it's not at all a sexual thing.
Raw, powerful woman just absolutely owning that situation, and it's just it is literally awesome.
Yeah, and it's just like, wow, if there weren't women working on that in that team, or like these are the most woke men ever.
Yeah.
Or clearly there were some women in the writers' room, because like one or the other. It's incredible. It's just, not enough. They're very, very brave. That's the thing. I think they owned the fact. They kind of, they've always made this as part of their PR. And to be honest, Bethesda has got right behind it 100%. So, fuck Nazis. Like, they're scum. We're going to glorify murdering them because no one else deserves to die as much as fucking Nazis do.
No, I was surprised at how outspoken it is, because after the credits, it's got pictures of dead Nazis and like American flags being raised back up, and flashing across the screen in huge neon letters. It just says "Rise." And I've never seen such a call to arms from a video game like that. It's really blatant, and I'm surprised they're allowed to do it, really. But yeah,
I think it's one of the cool things about Bethesda. They've got some issues when it comes to their quality control, obviously, but like
you wouldn't see Ubisoft
very
doing that, would you?
Chill. Sorry,
you wouldn't see Ubisoft doing that. They wouldn't have the balls to attach a message like that and just be so anti something.
I think Bethesda, where they're kind of like left slant sort of politicalness very openly.
Yeah.
And they're very proud of it. Like you said, Ubisoft very much wants to walk that line down the middle where they avoid ever saying anything political. Where even though their games are ostensibly incredibly political, they avoid somehow ever having any real sort of weight to them.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, that game ends on such an incredible rush. I mean, I think Wolfenstein, the biggest problem I had with 2 is that the level design isn't quite as good as the first one. But the story is even better. Like, I loved all the situations and the cutscenes and the characters and all that are just incredible.
So many great characters. So many. It's not just BJ and Anya. There's probably half a dozen characters that you think could probably have their own game.
Yeah, absolutely. Grace stands out as well. She's incredible.
Yeah.
Like there's loads of them in there. I might go back actually, but I'm looking forward to doing Youngblood with you. The bit I've liked the most so far has been the stuff with the twins. They're great, but I'm a little bit worried because I've heard people say that there's less and less story and character as it goes along, and it's like, oh, that's disappointing. But I mean, yeah, it's a spin-off, isn't it? So
you can kind of see the way that's going though, because the way it's built, it's not really focused around its story so much as it is leveling up and getting aesthetic.
Replayability seems to be at the front of that game. Yeah. So, but no, Wolfenstein is a fantastic experience, and it's just such a great FU to those people, to Nazis, and I love it. I love it so much. Do you think there's like a somewhere in the like deepest southern horrible United States, there's some teenage little white supremacist idiot boy playing Wolfenstein 2, loving every minute because of the violence and just not picking up on the message at all? I imagine there is.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, and his dad comes in and he's like, smacks him and smashes up his Xbox.
Well, you get it here, don't you? You get people who are as close to being actual Nazis as is possible without calling themselves Nazis in the UK and Europe. And they, talk about the EU as if it's a Nazi superstate. And you just think, how is it possible to project that hard?
And be that ignorant. Yeah, it is quite impressive, right? I'm gonna do this another double bill here. I have been deep in the last 2 months, deep back into these two fantastic open world games, which I'm absolutely loving. First of all, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is now, I think, officially my favorite Assassin's Creed game of all time. Has some of the best DLC ever produced. Like, my God, good. The First Blade stuff, all to do with Darius, the first assassin, how that ties into the Greek stuff is brilliant. And then the flipping Atlantis stuff, the Fate of Atlantis stuff with the Greek pantheon of gods is some of the most creative, outlandish, over-the-top sort of level design and characterization I've seen yet in an Assassin's Creed game, and it's absolutely incredible, and it takes it in these like sci-fi directions, and it's like,
what?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's mental. Yeah, it's truly like they just cut loose with it. Like they just gave them carte blanche, make the fantasy you've always wanted out of the Greek pantheon, and they've just gone and done it.
Oh, that sounds cool. I suppose that's
it's so good.
I suppose that's symptomatic of them slowing down the release pace for Assassin's Creed titles, because they're not every year anymore. But
no, they're not coming out this year.
But that gives it the breathing space, I guess, to spend more time on that DLC and really get as much out of the game as they can.
Oh, most incredible season pass value I've seen yet. Like, I mean, it wasn't a cheap season pass. I think it was like 30 something maybe.
Yeah.
But you got AC3 remastered, which was like 25 quid itself. And then you got all the First Blade DLC, which has got to be in 15 hours, and then the Fate of Atlantis stuff, which has got to be in about the same, if not more. Yeah. So the First Blade stuff was using the existing environment. Fate of Atlantis is all entirely new environments. So it's like there's a lot of work and effort and has gone into this. And like I was talking about, this isn't a live game. This is a single player only game. But Ubisoft have been patching, updating, putting in free content every few weeks with extra missions, extra monsters to hunt, extra contracts, extra bounties, like constantly supporting and updating this game. And it's not even a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Like, and there's tons of free stuff as well as the premium stuff if you're a season pass holder or whatever. They do have, and you know how they do it. They do have a microtransaction supported store for cosmetics and stuff, and that's how they support these games. And you can get all of that gear inside the game itself by like collecting these special ore and stuff like that around the game. I forget what it's called, and you can use that to buy the DLC stuff instead, or the cosmetic stuff instead, or you can just buy it, and I'm sure a lot of people do buy it, and that's how it's supported. But I have no problem with that when the quality of what is being produced is as high as it's been. It's been fantastic. Like, this game has just kept going, and it's absolutely incredible. I honestly love ACO.
I don't think I have a problem with that either, really. I mean, frankly, there's most single player games don't give you the option of that content. So, the fact that it's there, something that would give you something else to focus on and extend the life of that game. If you wanted to grind for it, great. If you want to pay for it, don't affect anybody else really, does it?
No.
So,
no.
Yeah, fine.
And finally, part of my little Ubisoft double boy here, deep back into the Division 2 as well. And I think we just mentioned Ubisoft's ability to have really political things and not talk about politics. This is a great example of that. I mean, it's maybe not quite as political as Watch Dogs 2 and stuff, but this is, if you think about the concept of the Division, so a collapsing United States, the Division themselves are secret agents that are basically living within society and get activated and have powers that mean they don't have to follow law enforcement. They don't have to follow laws or anything. They just do what needs doing to secure the continuation of the United States ideals. Yeah, that's pretty political, guys.
Yeah,
don't you think?
It really has no right not being a political game, does it? Starting in the ruins of the White House, it has no business shying away from that.
Literally, your base is in the White House, and multiple times I've now liberated like Congress and things like that, and it's okay. But it's very good. It's so good. I absolutely love it. I've been deep back in there since the new DLC just came out, the first season of it, and they've patched it and supported it, and skills are now super effective and really fun to use and way more powerful, and the gunplay feels better than ever, and I'm just deep in the loot grind and absolutely addicted. I've kind of, when you first beat the game, right, you liberate Washington, and you free up all this territory from these three different factions, and then at the end of the game, a fourth faction shows up and invades Washington again and takes it all over again. So I was like, at that point, after 50 hours or whatever, at that point I went, I'm gonna take a break. I'm going to take a break. And I sort of walked away from it for a few months, like 2 months or something. And in that time, they've patched it and like brought in this new content. And I'm just finishing clearing out Washington again right now for the second time and doing the DLC and stuff. But it's great. It's great to walk away from a game and come back a few months later and it be even better than when you left it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
That is cool.
It's a really good feeling.
That is something you can rely on Ubisoft for. They always support their games really well.
They do now, yeah. That's what they're all about, isn't it? Yeah. It's like giving their games long tails, getting the players to come back, or people that weren't sure at the time, to wait for a sale 6 months later, pick it up cheap, get the gold edition, get it with all the patches, and then really enjoy it. And then it's like it just keeps the game going. It keeps making money for them, and therefore it keeps getting supported. It's a really good model. I think it's very consumer friendly in many ways.
Yeah, I agree. It is smart. So even people that come to a game late, they don't feel like they've missed out. It's still current at that point. So yeah, they're good at that.
Anything else you wanted to mention? I'm all done.
I don't think there's anything significant that I've played other than that. Just a few Game Pass throwaway experiences. Nothing really worth mentioning. But I think that will do for this week.
Yes. It's been nice talking to you again, Richard, after a couple of months not doing that. But, well, we've spoken. We've still played lots of games, and I should probably use that as a segue to promote our channel. Please check out all the videos we produce for various games from all kinds of different developers and publishers. We love playing and talking about just about everything. Right now, me and Richard have just played some Vigor in game preview on Xbox One. There should be a video coming up for that soon. Cameron is taking a little break, which is fine. He's got a small baby and he's having some quality time with the child over the summer, but hopefully he'll be back soon. Richard, what are you working on? You're just waiting for Control, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I've been watching videos of Sam Lake, and just Sarah's getting worried. She's like, why are you looking at this Finnish man all the time?
You snuck some kind of weird camera into his house or something?
No, he's put videos out. I haven't got to the stage where I've got to spy on him yet. He's put enough out. I'm not through it all. But I love that man. I just love the way he talks.
He's got a great delivery, hasn't he?
Yeah. So good. So really looking forward to Control.
I was thinking I might play some Quantum Break before Control.
Didn't you finish it already?
Oh yeah, I beat it back when it came out, but I was like, I might go back and just play a little bit of that. I really like that game. Or maybe some Alan Wake instead. I haven't played that in a while.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I was going to go back to Alan Wake's American Nightmare and maybe do some of the challenge levels, because I think I've not got some achievements on that. I could maybe finish that off, but I've rinsed the other stuff. Alan Wake's done to death. Quantum Break's done to death. Really need Control to come out. Give me something new.
Yeah, and it sounds like it might have a lot of replayability as well.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really exciting. We'll be talking about that, I can guarantee that, in the first week or two of September. So that's something to look forward to. Probably some Borderlands 3, maybe. We'll see if that comes our way. There's lots coming, like I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, Grimfall and things like that. Lots and lots of stuff. And then, of course, we'll be into silly season with Jedi Fallen Order and, well, millions of other big titles. So, yeah. Good to be back and doing some podcasts, and hopefully you've all enjoyed listening to this. Please give us a like and leave us some feedback, leave us a comment or two, give us a review on iTunes. I don't know what you can do on Spotify. I don't think you can do anything, but yeah, just give us some feedback. That'd be really appreciated. We'll be all talking to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye
Everybody.